Hi, this is Ben from Berscakcustomguitars, and today we're going to be doing a total refret on this guitar right here. This is an unbranded Strat copy that I lovingly refer to as the sticker Strat. I've had this for a long time. I got this when I was in high school. There's no name on the headstock, so I have no idea what brand it is. I got this at Guitar Center's used section back in the day for like $100 or so, and I have completely modded the heck out of this thing. The frets have never been great on this, so I figured it was finally time to give it a good refret. So today we're going to go over all the steps that you would need to do that on a guitar like this. So this video is actually going to be filmed over a few days because of the level of work that goes into it. It is a very labor-intensive job. So we'll be filming this over a period of a few days. And for the job, we'll be using Fender's standard fret wire. These are already pre-cut, not totally to size, but they're in smaller segments. And there's 24 frets in this pack. These go for about 10 or 11 bucks on Amazon. All links are going to be in the description below. I just find that these are really easy to work with rather than getting a big bulk of fret wire and cutting it down and having to radius it yourself. These are already pre-radiused and pre-cut. And also, we're going to be going over how to use all of the tools that we laid out in our guitar fretwork tool video. So there'll be a link to that up here if you want to go check that out first. But we'll be putting all of those tools to work in this video. So the first step here is to make sure that the fretboard is completely level. We're going to do that using our notched straight edge and adjusting the truss rod until the neck is straight. In this case, I found that the truss rod in this neck was broken, so I couldn't get it perfectly flat, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem. It was almost perfect. Once the neck is straight, then we're going to go ahead and start getting these frets out. So we're going to take our soldering iron and heat up the fret here. So we're just going to put it on the fret until it gets warm, and then we're going to take our fret pullers, or in this case my little wire cutter that I use as a fret puller, and start to kind of get underneath the fret and gently wiggle it loose. Now it may take a little bit of time and it may take more than one heat cycle, but eventually it should get hot enough to where you're able to get your tool underneath the fret and slowly pull it up. The next step here is just to take a regular razor blade and run it through each of the fret slots just to kind of clean it out and to make sure that there's nothing obstructing the new fret from going in that slot. Now we're going to take our frets and get them installed on the guitar. So the first step is just kind of put it in the slot gently, not totally pressing it in, and then taking our fret nippers here and trimming it down to size. So the way I'm doing it here is I'm just kind of eyeballing it and then taking the fret out and cutting it outside of the neck. And you want to make sure that when you're cutting it parallel to the fret tang, because if you cut it the other direction, if you cut it perpendicular to the tang, it's going to kind of smush that tang down a little bit, and it's going to be very difficult to get the tang into the fret slot. So you want to make sure that your fret cutters are going cutting parallel to that fret tang. And here you can see what I'm talking about. Nice smooth cut. And then we're going to take some Loctite, or any kind of super glue really. This stuff is just really good, I've used it before. And then we're going to put some of that super glue on the tang of the fret. Not too much, just a couple little dabs up and down the tang, just to keep it glued in place and to keep it from slipping out of the guitar. And then once the super glue is applied, we're going to go ahead and put the fret back into the fret slot. We're going to take our fretting hammer using the brass side, and we're going to start tapping the fret into the guitar, starting at the center of the fret and working our way out to the ends. You don't need to use a lot of pressure, just a bunch of firm taps should do it. You don't need to hammer it like you're hammering a nail. Just, consistent, smooth taps across the width of the fret. And as you can see, the fret is now installed in the guitar. So now we're going to take our flat file and just file down the very ends of the frets until they are even with the neck of the guitar. So you don't need to use a file like this. You can use any flat surface, whether it be just like a regular handheld file or a sanding block or something like that. Now we're going to use our beveling file here to put a nice beveled edge on each side of the fret. So we just want to let the file itself ride across the top of the fretboard. It's not going to damage it in any way, and just do that until we have nice beveled ends. And here's just a quick close-up so you can see that now the ends of the frets each have like a nice little beveled angle to it. Time to tape. So we're going to go ahead and tape up each of the frets on both sides of the fret all the way up the fretboard. We could have done this a little bit earlier, but on this particular neck it's already pretty dinged up and scratched up, so I wasn't too worried about it when I was filing down the sides of the frets or putting the bevel on it. But if this was a new neck or a neck that I was more worried about scratching up, I would have done this a couple of steps ago. But definitely use your discretion on an unfinished, like a rosewood or ebony fretboard. You don't really have to be as cautious about it because you don't have to worry about scratching up the finish. So now we're going to take a Sharpie. Any Sharpie will work, but I like to use this super fat tip chisel. That way you just get each fret in one single swipe, and we're going to put a swipe of marker on each of the top of the frets. Now we take our leveling beam that's already been loaded with a Duragold 320 self-adhesive sandpaper, and we're going to go and start leveling the frets. Now we're just going to move from side to side. I'm not putting any pressure on the leveling beam. I'm just using the weight of the beam itself, and we're going to go back and forth. And here you can see how it starts to sand down the frets. You're going to see like a pattern like that until they are totally level. You're going to want to keep sanding until there's no marker left on any of the frets. So now we take our fret rocker and we're going to go up and down the fretboard, just double checking to make sure that all of our frets are perfectly level. You can pretty much see when your frets are level, but this is just a double check just to make sure that things are actually perfectly level. And now it's time to crown the frets. Here I'm going to use my Z file, and I'm going to start filing one side of the fret. This particular file cuts one side at a time, so you use it in one direction and then you actually would flip it over and do the other side of the fret. That way it's even on both sides. It doesn't take too much, but you just want to eyeball it a bit and do as much as you have to. It might take more than one pass, so just go back and keep doing it until you're satisfied with the result. So now it's time to smooth down the ends of the frets with the Stumac fret end dressing file. So using the smooth side of the file facing the fretboard, we're going to just take off the little bit of material at the very edge of the frets. Here's a little close-up so you can see the actual motion. You want to go forward and kind of curve your hand around. It just takes a little bit of practice to get the actual motion down, but that way you get all those little nibs off the end of the fret itself. Last but not least, now it's time to polish those frets up. So we're going to take our rotary tool here and we're going to go ahead, switch it on and get it in the polish here. You want to just kind of work it around there. It's going to take a minute for the polish to kind of heat up from the rotation of the tool. You can see when it kind of soaks up the polish right there, and then we're going to go and start polishing the frets. Just working back and forth on the fret, going up and down, side to side, making sure the ends are covered as well. Time may vary, it does depend, you just have to kind of use your own judgment, but you can kind of see when each fret is done. Once you're done polishing, you can just take a cloth or paper towel and just wipe off the excess polishing compound off the frets, and then go ahead and remove the tape. And I always like to wipe it down again after all the tape has been removed. That way it just takes off any other debris that may have been left over from the process. And here we have our finished product. You can see now that we have perfectly leveled, mirror finished frets up and down the fretboard. Not only do we have a nice level playing surface, but also we have nice smooth ends. That way we're not going to cut our hands or anything like that. And there you have it. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, click that bell notification. That way you'll be notified every time we post new content. And if you have any questions or if you have any suggestions or anything like that, definitely leave a comment down below. And be sure to check us out over on Instagram at berscakcustomguitars. All links are in the description below. Thanks for watching.